Good morning to everyone and welcome to our Mind the Moment's Thursday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino. I am absolutely, amazingly delighted to be here with Tara Healey, founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare's mindfulness program. It wouldn't be a Thursday without you. So welcome, Tara.
Well, ditto, Suzanne.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here and to be together with this community this morning. And it's nice to see everybody joining as all we see is like the little numbers on the side. So it's very nice to see the numbers coming up.
Yes.
So for anybody that's new, a special welcome. Just to explain how we work in these Thursday mornings, Tara will start off with a question for the group, and then she'll lead us in about a 12-minute guided meditation practice. And I mentioned guided, mostly guided, and then she will give us some opportunity for some just a few minutes of silent practice time, just to help us to have both types of practices and to incorporate that into our meditation. So after that, we'll have some time for questions. And so if you can go to the bottom of your screen and open up the chat. And when you open the chat, you'll see at the bottom, you can click the blue drop-down menu that says hosts and panelists. And you can change that to everyone if you'd like everyone to see the comments as they come in. So there we go. So Tara, what is the question for this morning?
Yeah, well, I'll set it up by saying that, over the past couple of weeks, I have been noticing conversations I've been having with friends and family seem to be related to simplifying. Just, I have a bunch of friends that are pulling some stuff together for Facebook Marketplace. Just talking to a friend who downsized from a rather large home to a tiny apartment, and how good she felt, just going through that whole process. And so even just randomly having conversations around simplifying. So my question is related to simplifying. And the question is, if you could simplify your life by getting rid of things, what might you get rid of? So you could name one thing or a few things, but if you could simplify your life by getting rid of things, what would you get rid of? And, in part, what I'm drawn to is how the simplification of our lives and having fewer things actually helps our mind settle. And there was also an article, I think it was New York Times, I can't remember exactly where I read it, but about having a room full of clutter and feeling mentally unsettled, almost like the room mimics how the mind is. But when we are in spaces that are clearer, that actually helps the settling process, which is why, many of the retreat centers are pretty simple. There's not a lot to stimulate the mind. So it's, these are all ways that we can kind of set ourselves up for practice. So Suzanne, we always start with each other. So why don't you say, while folks are thinking about that question?
Yeah, I have to say, I did look over at the chat and Sheila said paper, and I was like, oh my gosh, could I do paper? Yeah. And of course I have a scanner. I can easily scan it, but it's one of those things that I push off and say, oh, I'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
But I say I've moved a number of times in my life, and I've been in a few of the moves, I've had movers move me, which is a blessing and a curse, because then you're like, oh, I don't have to get rid of anything. I'll just, it's not that the movers will move it. Yeah. So I do have a lot of things in my basement that I could have just a quarter of the things I have in my basement and easily give it away on, I do a lot of the buy nothing groups on Facebook. So our neighborhood hands things off. So I would say it's hard to nail it down, but I could easily put the things that I have in a quarter of what I have. So
I love the idea, Suzanne, what you said too about like neighborhood sharing, just, I mean, it's such a great concept because, just consumption, consuming, all the things we consume, we don't really necessarily need. And I think it's a way to help the environment. There's so many positives. Not only does it help our mind, but, so I have in my house, I have a loft on the second floor that is like, I use it just for storage. It could be like a sleeping place, but I use it for storage. And so I periodically go up there to get things. And every time I go up there, I get a little bit of a pit in my stomach because there's so much up there that needs to be tossed.
Yeah.
Like even confidential things that need to be shredded, papers, old things that I have just held on to for a long time. Even like back taxes that I actually don't really need. And the accountant keeps everything anyway. Like, so just, and I was up there the other day and just feeling like, you know what, I've got to set aside time to just go through stuff. And because it always feels good to know that you've walked out of the house, I've taken, it's like a lighter load.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And when you mention that, I kind of think, well, maybe I should put together a playlist on Spotify to inspire me to do this. Like, so then I just have a whole list of music that I love to listen to that, I'll just sit down and enjoy my music and do it at the same time.
Love that. That's perfect. Yeah. Just bring kind of bring some pleasure into an unpleasurable.
Yeah. And Loretta says clothes. Rizvana, tchotchke. I call them dust collectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff that my children left behind and yet they do not want me to get rid of. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Old paper files from coursework. Yeah, what Susan said. Yeah, for sure. Miscellaneous things stored over the years, but not looked at. Yeah, it's so when you put it away, like when you mentioned about your loft, when you put something on the side like that, it's so easy to just forget about it.
I know. And it's not, I've been watching on YouTube, but first check free from Are You Decluttering Hacks and Apartment Therapy Declutter Challenge. Yeah. So interesting. And I don't know why I'm hearing a lot about this because it's the new year and
it's called But First Coffee. I love that.
Yeah. I think, even I know there's little things, I was thinking too, if I buy something like a piece of clothing, that one other piece of clothing goes out, that is in very good condition, but I might not wear it, but somebody would. And so I know, so I think that's it.
Yeah, and what Sheila's mentioned too is post-COVID stuff overload. Because I think in COVID we were just we're doing stuff at home, so we're bringing more stuff. Maybe we're bringing more stuff into the house. I don't know.
I think Amazon did quite well during COVID.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that truck was still. Yeah, I know it's an interesting thing. Even I got a couple catalogs yesterday and I was looking through them. And then I realized like, I'm looking through these to want something. And then what wanting mind feels like, and it's always a bit of a contraction. So I just put them in the recycle bin.
Yeah.
Like it's such an interesting thing. I'm looking to want. I want to want. And, not that there's anything wrong with looking through a catalog or wanting things, but I think just the noticing in that moment, using the practice to see when there is that kind of wanting, there is a subtle contraction in the body and in the mind. And just breathe with that And, in that moment, just toss them and recycle and get on with my day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It
Yeah.
can be such a distraction.
Yeah.
Hmm,
All right, let's go ahead and
Yep.
start. Yeah.
That's good.
So, feel free to, be in a posture that feels like it's going to serve you best this morning. And that could be standing or sitting, even lying down. I would just say if you feel sleepy, lying down probably isn't ideal. But yet lying down is a completely fine posture. Um, and standing is a great posture, sitting, all of it. So just see what feels like it's going to serve you best. And go ahead and situate your body so that you are sitting, standing, or lying down in a way that feels supported and engaged. Your eyes can be open or closed. And if you decide to keep the eyes open, you want to gaze downward a little bit just to help remove peripheral distraction. And just take a couple deep breaths as a way to settle any surface tension, from your activity so far. So make that exhalation a little bit longer than the inhalation, but take a couple on your own. And really invite the body to surrender into the support of the earth beneath you, knowing that you are being held. Taking a moment to notice how the body is in this moment. So whole body awareness. And what sensations are being offered? That could be the points of contact with the body and the surface that you're on, that subtle point of connection and what that actually feels like. It could be a pulsing or a vibration, a tingling, any kind of physical expression. See if you can bring a receptive attitude, just receiving, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Just receiving the experience. And let's take a moment now to open awareness to receive sound that might be in the room you're in or perhaps outside of the room, but receiving sound. And allowing sound to remain in the background as it will. Inviting the attention back inward to the whole body. And begin to even narrow that focus of awareness on the sensations you're aware of as you breathe. No need to make the breath different or special. Just see what rhythm your body is offering now as you inhale and as you exhale, and where you feel the rise and fall most prominently. And that could be abdomen, chest, nostrils, or even just the, feeling the actual movement of the body as you breathe in and out. But allowing one point to be the stabilizer for your mind, knowing that the mind will wander. We're not trying to stop that. We're just simply seeing that when we've engaged a memory or planning or a story, that we notice that and just make a soft mental note, thinking, release, and return to your anchor. And if breath is challenging today, it's fine to use sound or another body sensation, a point of contact perhaps that you can connect with. Even the palms of the hands resting on the thighs, that point of connection could be what you return to. So, just taking a moment to connect in with an anchor. And I'll be silent for the next several minutes. So, as you notice that the mind has wandered, not a problem. Soft mental note, thinking. So the culprit has been seen. Thoughts tend to slip in unnoticed, and then we notice them. So that's a really good moment in practice because you now have a choice to escort your attention back to whatever you're using to help stabilize or anchor your attention. Stabilize or steady, calibrate the mind, which helps mindfulness do its job. Over and over and over again, bringing the wandering mind back to the anchor. Noticing where the mind is without any kind of judgment. Remember, the mind likes to wander. During practice, we're just saying, not now, and simply escorting the attention, your awareness back to your anchor. Not a problem. Tracking breath or another sound or sensation. Over and over again. And I want to close this meditation by reading you a definition of mindfulness that I came across recently by a teacher on the West Coast named James Baraz. And I love it for its simplicity. And well, I'll read it. Mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it was different, enjoying the pleasant without holding on when it changes, which it will, being with the unpleasant without fearing it will always be this way, which it won't. So if your eyes were closed and you can open them and reconnect, and if your eyes were open, and it's always a good idea to just kind of look around, stretch a little bit, and just reconnect with your surroundings and with each other.
Thank you so much, Tara.
Yeah.
I love that definition.
It's really
Never heard
amazing.
that.
I am so happy I came across it because there are a lot of different ways people define mindfulness. The thing that he gets in this definition that is so crucial to really understanding what this practice is he's getting at change, that everything is constantly in flux, which, so he's saying, when things are really good and pleasant and happy, there is often a subtle holding, wishing it won't go away or it won't change. And when things are really unpleasant or painful emotionally or physically, there's always a worry that it'll always be that way. And the truth is, because we have this law of impermanence, that everything is constantly in flux. And so it's such a core teaching, and he really gets it in this definition. He really names it. So yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Folks are asking about if we can get the name and of the person that gave that quote.
Oh, it's James, and I'll spell the last name Baraz. And I'll read it again because it feels worth reading again. Mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it were different. So that's the first part, right? Mindfulness is being aware of what's happening right now without wishing it were different. And that in itself is really profound, because we can get caught up in something called ordinary awareness. Somebody says something, we're mad, we're angry, we feel all of that kind of anger, but that's ordinary awareness. But when we see like what's actually going on, now we're stepping into more mindful awareness. Oh, did you write? Is being right? Yeah, that's great, Jeff.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, the definition I typically use is mindfulness is about being awake and aware and knowing it, right? Awake and aware and knowing it. With an attitude of receptivity to whatever is happening. And I think where James takes this is really looking at the desire we often have for things to be other than the way they are, especially if they're unpleasant, but also when things are really good. One of my teachers many years ago said, if you've just fallen in love, that's good, but it's going to change. Now it might deepen and get better, but that kind of elation, that high you feel upon that just won't last. So, every single thought, emotion, and body sensation has a birth, it does its thing, and it moves. And these are just natural laws that we can all test. There's nothing to blindly believe here. You can test it throughout your whole day. But it is so core. It is so core to the practice.
Yeah. And it really helps us through our life in every way. If we, because it's so easy to get caught up in, this is going to be forever. I have this pain.
Yes.
This pain means I have this, and it's going to be there forever. And, it's just human nature that we tell these stories to ourselves. So,
yeah. And then, when we start to bring the lens of practice, and really even fine tune it, that's why when you have an itch or a cramp, it's actually helpful to not scratch the itch or knead out the cramp, but to let your attention receive the experience of the sensation that is being offered. Because whether you knead the cramp out or scratch the itch, you will notice it'll go. So whenever you have a craving for something, whether or not you give into that craving, it'll also go. And these are things that you can actually test for yourself. You can play around with this.
Yeah. It is always interesting. The itch is, when you are on a meditation retreat, or you feel like you should be doing something, not maybe not moving or something like that. I think it really
You're
is.
not moving for more comfort, but unless of course you're harming yourself in some way. But Jerry took the Awakening Joy course. That's right. He taught that. Yes.
This is great.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification. Well, thank you, Tara, for bringing up, and the fact that you brought in simplification, and the fact that this definition is such a simplified way to look at mindfulness, I think is reminds us that.
One more thing to add about clearing the clutter. I use this quote: make your environment conducive to your goals. Great. Yeah.
That's nice.
And I feel like there's so much I want to talk about this morning, but I know we're at 9. So
well, it's wonderful to have everyone here this morning. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being here as always, Tara, and for bringing your this lovely question, and the experience that you have is always fabulous to bring to this group. And we'll have Jackie Johnson here next Tuesday. So really looking forward to that.
Good. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, everybody. Just for sharing and this is what this community is about. So we all learn from each other. I really appreciate that. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you all. And we'll see you. Have a nice end to the week and weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay.